Just a little bit of rain left here on the radar. I'll show you where we're starting to see some clearing, but why we still could have some storms over the weekend.
A day after Debbie and damage still being done, these trees like this are falling all across the city, and it actually fell in this apartment building. We talked to the man who lives inside who experienced the whole thing.
And breaking news out of Orange County this noon. UNC Chapel Hill has a new chancellor, and it's a familiar face. The qualities that sealed the deal for Lee Roberts. Remnants of Debbie are headed up the East Coast. We still have some rain in our forecast, though. Good afternoon to you on this Friday. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Renee Chu. Thanks so much for joining us. Here's the latest on the system. The total death toll from Debbie now stands at 8, including 2 people in North Carolina. Swift water rescue teams have responded to more than 170 search, rescue, or evacuations. Inland river flooding is the primary threat at this point.
We have team coverage of Debbie's impact. We begin with Elizabeth Gardner in the WRAL Severe Weather Center to show us why those showers and storms will be sticking around with us through the weekend, Elizabeth.
We take a live look again at Dual Doppler 5000 radar. This morning, we had some fairly steady to moderately heavy rain across the region, but we're starting to see the bulk of that now shifting to the coast. You can see some of the heavier rain, some of those brighter colors, the yellows and the oranges. Not likely to have any tornadoes even along the coast today. But we have a cold front that's pushing across the state, and that will concentrate the rain closer to the coast as we get through the afternoon. But there's still a few sprinkles out there, a few light showers from Roanoke Rapids northward, and a couple of light patchy rain showers around the remainder of the viewing area as well. But take a look at this. Debbie is a post-tropical cyclone, and it is about to move into New York. That's where the low pressure system that was Debbie is right now. By the time we get to dinner time, it's up into Canada. So that low that was Debbie is out of here, and that's definitely good news. It's the cold front that's going to continue to bring us a chance of showers and thunderstorms, not so much for the rest of today, but potentially for tomorrow and again Sunday as it stalls over us. Now, we do still have a flood watch in effect for our eastern counties. Of course, there may be a few trees that continue to fall this afternoon. There are some rivers that are still high, and I'm going to walk you through all of the river flood gauges and stages coming up in just a little while. We take a look at Futurecast, couple sprinkles showing up now, but we get to 5 o'clock and a little bit of sunshine begins to peek through, and the rain for us really ends. I mean, couldn't rule out an isolated shower, but you can see, those chances are really tapering off once we get towards, say, dinner time or so. And one of the reasons why, take a look at our satellite view over in Greensboro. It's partly cloudy. We're starting to see a little bit of sunshine there in Orange County and up in Person County too. So this is all going to be moving eastward, and a lot of us should see some sunshine before we get to sunset. As a matter of fact, we take a look from the Museum of Natural Sciences. Look at that blue sky over parts of downtown Raleigh. It's 80 degrees though, and the dew point is 75. It is very warm and sticky. The winds are starting to drop some. We still have gusts to 16. Earlier this morning, we were gusting up to 25, and that's why we still had some trees falling, but those winds are starting to die down as well. It is going to be a fairly warm, sticky afternoon, and coming up again, 2 things. I'm going to show you when we'll see some storms over the weekend, and we'll take a close look at those river gauges.
It is going to be a while before buildings are repaired in Wilson County. Drone video shows the home that collapsed, killing the man who lived there. WRAL's Heidi Kirk is live in Lucama for us this noon. Heidi, you just spoke with one person who lives in that area. What do they have to tell you?
Well, Jeff, we're standing right in front of the home where 60-year-old Brian Barnes lost his life in yesterday's storm. Yesterday, we spoke with family as they came here, picking up some of the pieces you're going to see behind me. You'll see things like chairs, blankets, memories, all in this area connected to that man and his family. And of course, people still on scene picking up the pieces all around this community. In fact, if you look across the street, you're going to see another home where the community has really come together to restore what is left of their house. You're going to see many people arriving on scene, really creating this great community response, especially as that storm was hitting. Many people checking on their loved ones, making sure that they were okay, especially those people who lost everything.
We were in contact with my parents and checking on them, and once everything was done, we got the phone call that they had lost everything.
Now, of course, we've been seeing crews all morning arriving here on scene, working to restore power and help those in need. Just within the last few minutes, we noticed that family arrived here on this property to pick up some of the belongings to Brian, and family members just coming together to really remember him and clean up the mess that you see behind me. And of course, we're going to continue sticking in this area throughout the day. Heidi Kirk, WRAL News, live in Lucama.
Only on WRAL, we'll hear from a rising 7th grader at Springfield Middle School. He shares what it was like to see a classroom that he was in last year destroyed and the uncertainty of what lies ahead. That's coming up at 12:30.
The cleanup efforts continue across the Triangle after Debbie. WRAL's Sean Gallagher is outside of an apartment building in Raleigh that saw a tree crashing through it this morning. Sean, was anyone hurt there?
Yeah, Renee, luckily, nobody was hurt in this case, but trees like this are being cleaned up all across the city. This one on private property, but crashed through the top of this apartment building just yesterday. And in the last 24 hours, the city says it's seen dozens of trees fall all over the place. The city of Raleigh tells me they've responded to 47 downed trees because of Debbie. Now, that doesn't include this one, again, because it's on private property. This one crashed down yesterday afternoon on the apartment here, and the person living here showed us what it looked like inside, with one of the branches actually poking through his ceiling. He didn't want us to share his name, but described what it was like when the tree came crashing down while he was working from home.
It felt like a huge explosion. The whole thing shook. And I figured, I don't know, it was a tornado or what it could be.
Did you ever expect it to happen here?
I'm not surprised. I mean, we've got all the trees. I mean, if they wanted to prevent this, totally, they'd get rid of all the trees.
Now, this crew has been here pretty much all morning trying to take care of this tree, and I spoke to a home restoration professional who says this company is extremely busy with all the trees that they're dealing with. Again, this is on private property, so they're dealing with that, but the city of Raleigh tells me that all of their calls, they could include things like limbs that may fall on sidewalks or kind of block the road a little bit, but I'll tell you, we've seen a number of large trees that have fallen that are the city's responsibility. Sean Gallagher, WRAL News, Raleigh.
One day after touring the damage down east, Governor Roy Cooper turned his attention today to how the state plans to help people recover. WRAL's Ken Smith is here with what the governor had to say at a news conference just a short time ago. Ken.
You know, Jeff, Governor Cooper quickly made the point the effects of this storm are far from over. He pointed to the damage in Wilson County and other nearby communities down east. He says power company crews continue their work because of trees that are coming down as a result of the heavily saturated ground. The major concern right now, the governor says, is inland flooding because of a number of river flood gauges, either at moderate to high or moderate to major flood stages. He also commended the first responders, swiftwater rescue squads, and the people affected by this storm.
I am so grateful for the efforts of our first responders, as well as the resilient spirit of the people who have been impacted by severe weather. Teams will be there to help as you recover. The State Emergency Response Team will also continue its work. We've activated more than 374 soldiers and airmen from the North Carolina National Guard and deployed swiftwater rescue teams that have been engaged in getting people to safety.
And we saw a swiftwater rescue squad in action yesterday, saving some young children from a fast-moving Raleigh Creek. Now, the rivers in question include the Lumber, Tar, Neuse Rivers, as well as Cape Fear and Haw. And one more thing, the governor stressed, if you're in a flood-prone area near one of these rivers we just mentioned and you're asked to evacuate, get out of that danger zone.
And we continue to track the impacts of Debbie, including the risk of flooding. Be sure to download the WRAL News app. Be sure to have the notifications turned on so you'll get weather alerts right to your location.
UNC Chapel Hill has a new permanent chancellor. It's a familiar face. Lee Roberts, who was serving as interim, was given the top job permanently this morning. WRAL's Monica Casey has been following the chancellor search. Monica, Roberts has been there since January, and it's clear the Board of Governors approves of the job that he's doing.
That's right. Roberts has been here for about 8 months working in the South Building. During that Board of Governors meeting this morning, the decision was unanimous, and it's one a lot of people expected. During that meeting, UNC System President Peter Hahn said Carolina is a lot to handle, and the responsibility of the next chancellor isn't just to preserve its strengths, but to look ahead to what comes next. He says Roberts has shown calm, steady, focused leadership.
Its next leader will need to deliver on the promise of operational excellence that matches Carolina's academic prowess.
One striking moment during Roberts' tenure as interim chancellor, re-raising the American flag on campus after it was removed by pro-Palestinian protesters back in April. Now, in just a couple of hours, we'll hear from UNC's Board of Trustees and Roberts himself about his appointment. We'll carry those remarks live at 2 p.m. on WRAL.com. Live in Chapel Hill, Monica Casey, WRAL News.
To say it's been a volatile week for the stock market is likely an understatement, but the stocks are ending the week with a whimper after all that drama. So the Dow Jones Industrial Average down 50 points right now. The S&P 500 down just a fraction, and NASDAQ down 30 points as the stocks try to gain the ground that they lost on Monday. Next at noon, we'll tell you where Debbie is headed next as the post-tropical cyclone moves into the northeast. Preparations there as it still packs some power.
Also, new rules for robocalls, how the FCC plans to crack down on AI-generated calls and texts.
Plus, Debbie helped to breach a dam in Cumberland County yesterday. At 12:30, we go live to Gilbert Bays with the lingering flood concerns in Fayetteville.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
Happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, a Delta flight carrying the Carolina Panthers veered off the runway earlier this morning. We want to show you video of this. The Delta flight was carrying some of the Carolina Panthers, and some of the plane's landing gear tires came off, and the plane went off the taxiway and into the mud. But Delta says luckily none of the 188 people on board were hurt. Passengers were able to get off of that plane and were bused to the terminal. The flight was coming from Providence, Rhode Island. There is no word on what caused that incident to happen.
Team USA has more chances to increase its medal count today. We will have track and field coverage at 1:30, including the finals of the men's and women's 4x100 meter finals. And at 4:30, it's the finals of the women's beach volleyball, Brazil against Canada. You can catch replays of all the big events on prime time in Paris, starting at 8 o'clock tonight. And here is a look at where the medal count stands today. Team USA is now in triple digits, 103 medals, including 30 golds. China has 77 medals, 32 golds. Host country France has won 55 medals. Great Britain and Australia round out the top 5.
Remnants of Debbie swept into the northeast after pounding the south with days of rain, flooding, and tornadoes. The system has weakened considerably as it makes its move up the east coast. NBC's George Solis shows us the scene from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
The remnants of Debbie slowly making their way here into the northeast. You can see the rain coming down at a good clip, and that's only expected to continue throughout the day as we start to see some of those heavier bands move in. The system expected to also impact northern New England, anywhere between 1 to 6 inches in different areas, depending on where these bands hit. And again, you can see the rain picking up here, as well as the winds. These relentless rains, slow moving, which have had a major impact on those drainage systems, which has led to some of that localized street flooding and flash flooding, catastrophic flooding down south. The storm still being blamed for at least 7 deaths. Today, the National Weather Service confirming at least 1 tornado in Delaware. That is also a major concern with this system. More tornadoes could also be spawned. Officials saying that the good news is that the Susquehanna River is not expected to flood, but residents should still prepare for some localized street flooding. Air travel today could also be a mess. Delays and cancellations already in the triple digits, and some of those travel headaches could continue well into the weekend. Back to you.
We're working to learn the name of the Rockingham County woman who died when a tree fell onto her mobile home. This happened in Brown Summit, northeast of Greensboro, around 11:30 last night. Officials say the 78-year-old woman was in the home's bathroom when the tree fell.
So many trees down speaks to the saturation of the ground and the wind kicking up as well for the storm.
And that still is a big concern, but rivers and their levels, they're at flood stage right now. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner with all that rainfall that we had from Debbie.
Yeah, we have so anywhere from an average of about 4 to 8 inches of rain, and that's a considerable amount, but it's not like some of the memorable storms that you may think of, like Florence, Floyd. A lot of those storms really created some catastrophic flooding for eastern North Carolina. We're not looking at that, but we're definitely looking at some flooding that is going to cause some issues for some folks. Let's start here with Dual Doppler 5000 radar. Just a couple of isolated showers left down around Fayetteville, right around Raleigh, and then up the I-95 corridor. All that's going to continue to slide eastward along with our cloud cover. We're starting to see a few breaks in the clouds. I showed you that satellite view just a few minutes ago. So breaks in the clouds back to the west, but still a few isolated showers for Wake County and along and east of I-95 for the next few hours. Here's another look. We take a live look here at North Hills, and you can see some blue skies off in the distance as we look toward the west. And so we're going to continue to see some clearing. Of course, the remnants of Debbie are moving all the way up almost into New York right now. So it's this cold front that's creating these showers that we're seeing, and that's going to push most of the showers and thunderstorms closer to the coast and out of our viewing area for this afternoon and evening. We may see a little bit of sunshine, but that front's only going to go so far, and then it starts to lift back northward as a stationary front. That's going to bring us a chance of some thunderstorms on Saturday and again on Sunday as it sits, especially in our southern counties. So here's a look at Futurecast. A couple of sprinkles there by 5 o'clock. Really, the rain is over in our viewing area, and we may see a few more holes in the clouds here and there. This version of Futurecast is pretty excited about seeing some sunshine tomorrow morning. Look at that, 6 a.m. Partly cloudy, mostly sunny skies. Tomorrow's going to be a hot day, though, 91, and we are holding on to all of this tropical moisture. So it is very, very sticky, very tropical feeling. So it's going to be kind of an uncomfortable day tomorrow. Notice after 5 o'clock, we see some scattered storms that start to develop from the triangle area southward. I wouldn't anticipate any of those being severe, but if you do have outdoor plans from Raleigh southward, there may be some pop-up cells out there. Here's a look at some of the rainfall totals from the last several days. Hope Mills at about 7 1/4. That was one of the highest ones. Goldsboro at almost 5 inches, and RDU about 4 1/2 inches in the last couple of days. Officially yesterday it was 4 inches, which broke the previous daily record of 2.63 set back in 1928. So it's been a lot of rainfall, and of course these levels of rainfall can definitely cause some flooding. So we are looking at major flooding on the Tar River in Lewisburg, but it's just right at the bottom level of major flooding, and at that level we can see some homes flooded along Johnson Street, and then it's moderate flooding in Rocky Mount with the potential for some streets flooded near US 301, and then in Tarboro often parts of the River Road are underwater at that level. It's minor flooding in Clayton, but in Clayton, but that does mean that parts of the Greenway there in town can be flooded. And the same thing in Smithfield, even though that's moderate flooding, the only thing that really happens there is parts of the park and the Riverwalk flood. Looking at major flooding in Goldsboro, but the only thing that we see at this particular river level is that the end of the runway at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base is flooded, but it's really just the airport lights, and it doesn't really cause any problems for planes taking off and landing. Looking at minor flooding in Lillington, and then also in Fayetteville, moderate, and it's possible that the stage at the Cape Fear Amphitheater would be flooded. So we're not, there are some gauges that officially came up to major flooding, but in some places that's a bit of a misnomer. We're not talking about, dozens and dozens of homes underwater, except on the Lumber River. That tends to be one of the areas that we see more issues than others. So just be careful there. Partly cloudy skies Saturday and Sunday with a chance of some isolated thunderstorms. We're going to talk more about our winds. We've still had some trees down. I'll show you how long that could last coming up.
Elizabeth, thanks. Coming up on WRAL News at 4 on Fox 50. This week we told you how officials were investigating a parasitic outbreak in Wake County with 134 cases linked to produce served at 3 separate restaurants. The questions we're asking the Wake County Health Director today: when should the public have been notified? What restaurants were involved? And which foods were behind the infections?
And tonight at 6, WRAL's Liz McLaughlin will be live in Paris. This is a live look right now. She'll have a look at today's Olympic highlights. Plus, still ahead this noon, the government is proposing new robocall rules. How the change could offer better protection for people.
Plus, it's a beautiful day in one Texas neighborhood. What makes these homes stand out from the rest? Retailers are rushing to import goods for the holiday shopping season. Companies hope to avoid shipping disruptions caused by attacks on the Red Sea, as well as a potential port worker strike. Many shippers have expedited holiday orders, placing orders as early as May. The Federal Communications Commission is proposing tighter restrictions on calls and texts generated by artificial intelligence. The rules would also define AI phone calls and require companies to disclose the use of AI. The FCC says the proposed rules will give more clarity to people when they are getting those AI robocalls.
The inflation crisis is hitting healthcare particularly hard, prompting new AI-based solutions. Evan Brown explains how AI agents could complete repetitive tasks that could open up higher-paying positions for workers.
Americans are still feeling pressure from inflation almost everywhere they spend their money, including healthcare. Much of that pressure is coming in the form of new regulations and red tape from insurance companies, forcing providers to spend more on clerical tasks. But now there is a high-tech solution. Thoughtful is an AI company focusing on streamlining the work process for healthcare, giving doctors more time and money to spend on their patients.
You can hire an AI agent to do these repetitive, boring tasks like submit claims to insurance companies, so healthcare providers get paid more faster.
Almost 15% of claims submitted to insurance companies by doctors are rejected due to errors, and that costs providers and patients millions of dollars each year. Thoughtful says their AI can file claims with no mistakes.
In the long run, AI is going to help lower prices. It's very deflationary. And with a U.S. healthcare system that's 18% of U.S. GDP, we think this is mission critical.
There are concerns that too much AI could result in an overly computerized world and lead to massive layoffs. Thoughtful says there will be some job losses in the short term, but they're expected to be replaced with higher paying positions.
These roles are the current telephone operators. Where did they go? They went to customer support and technical support jobs, higher value work, helping again focus on the customer.
That was Evan Brown reporting. The AI healthcare marketplace was worth $16 billion last year.
Our coverage of Debbie's impact continues in the next half hour. We will revisit an area in Fayetteville saturated by rising water.
And we've seen video from the air of the destruction at a middle school in Wilson County. Only on WRAL, a rising 7th grader at Springfield Middle shares his uncertainty about the upcoming new school year. And here are your winning NC Education lottery numbers on your screen right now. We'll be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Debbie has weakened to a post-tropical cyclone, but we are not in the clear just yet.
No, Elizabeth Gardner is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center right now with a quick check of the dangers we could still be facing today, leading by flooding probably, right?
Yeah, so we still have some river flooding that we're going to be talking about, as well as the potential for a few more trees to fall as we see just this last bit of rain moving through. We may have a few isolated thunderstorms that pop up over the weekend, and those could also produce some winds that are strong enough to knock down trees because our ground is so saturated. But generally, we're seeing some good improvement out there. The rain is really tapering off nicely. It's still a little shower there in Roanoke Rapids. That's starting to move out very quickly. Our chance of rain by the evening commute drops down to 20% and then really to 0 later on this evening. So you have outdoor plans. It's going to be soggy out there, but I wouldn't really expect to see much. As a matter of fact, we're seeing a little bit of blue sky in some of our western counties right now. Look at where the post-tropical cyclone is. It's about to move into New York and then by this evening on up into Canada. So the low pressure system itself is out of here, but we are seeing a cold front unrelated really to Debbie that's going to bring us that chance of a few isolated showers for the next few hours. It's also going to be pretty warm and sticky out there. Temperatures will be in the mid 80s. We're also going to check on the wind, and it is starting to decrease, but I'll show you how that will look through the rest of the day.
So that flood water is starting to recede in some areas. The headaches from those who were flooded, though, are just beginning. WRAL's Gilbert Bays joins us live right now after talking to a homeowner who now has to deal with the insurance and restoration companies to try to make things right. Gilbert?
Now, Jeff, let's put it in perspective here. I was at the Cape Fear River yesterday, and look at what a difference a day makes. Mike Jordan and I were standing by that telephone pole out there, and you can see how much the river has risen since yesterday. So all this water from upstream is coming down here. While this is swelling up, some of the neighborhoods, like you've mentioned, the water's starting to go down, but the road to recovery for some of those folks is just beginning. Let's take you back out to Bombay Drive, where we were yesterday. This is what it looked like yesterday. Residents were told to get out when Locks Creek overflowed its banks. Now, Camille Bartley left long before the evacuation notice was put out because she saw the water coming up on her home security cameras. Now, about a foot of water came into her home. The driveway still has standing water, and this is the fourth time that her home has flooded since Hurricane Matthew. And once again, she's notified her insurance company.
It's a process. They will have to send their evaluators to come out, assess the damage before they issue any payments. But in the meantime, my life continues, and I have to incur all of those expenses.
Now, Bartley says the water from Locks Creek is only part of the problem. She says the drainage ditch next to her home and stormwater drainage system in the neighborhood is not being properly maintained by the city. And I did reach out to the city to talk to them about those allegations because she's not the only one that said something about it. The city leaders told me they have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars out there in that neighborhood, but clearly some more work has to be done. Reporting live here in Fayetteville, Gilbert Bays, WRAL News.
New at noon, we are hearing from a boy who goes to school at Springfield Middle School in Wilson County. A tornado from Debbie severely damaged the school and homes in Lucama. Noah Klein is here now with an interview you will see only on WRAL. And Noah, the boy was able to see some of the damage to classrooms he had been in as recently as last school year.
Renee, this is a boy we're talking about who is set to start 7th grade at this school. He says while the building itself isn't recognizable, he was able to point out where he had previously studied. We put WRAL Drone 5 back up today. This is new video showing some of the damage Debbie left behind to the 6th and 7th grade parts of the building. I want to get you straight to this new interview you'll see only on WRAL. That boy describing how he felt once he saw what happened.
I was looking forward to starting a new 7th grade year with all my friends after the summer, playing sports and stuff like that. And then whenever we got here and I saw it was all tore up, it was just, I was in shock.
School, meanwhile, was set to start August 26th. Right now, it's still not clear if that will happen. He also spoke about what it feels like to not know what he should expect.
One of my questions is, what am I going to do? Like, where am I going to go now and stuff like that, because it's ruined. And then another question is, if it happens again in the future, what are we going to do again?
Interestingly here, his father was actually one of the first emergency responders on the scene. We spoke with him about what it was like showing up to that destruction yesterday. That's on WRAL.com and tonight on our evening news.
Yeah, thanks, Noah. Such perspective there. Lumber River continues to rise this morning. Robeson County is already experiencing flooding on several streets, forcing closures. Emergency officials say crews have rescue boats on standby if that flooding reaches extreme levels. The Lumberton levee system has been reinforced to handle this type of rain. As we continue to track the impacts of Debbie, including the risk of flooding, be sure to download the WRAL News app. Be sure your notifications are turned on so you will get weather alerts right to your location.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, Delta Airlines says last month's CrowdStrike outage cost the company $550 million. The airline says they are taking legal action against CrowdStrike as well as Microsoft. They struggled more than other airlines did. They canceled more than 7,000 flights, and this all happened in the height of the summer travel season, leaving thousands of customers stranded.
For those who are no longer in college and still using the good old college ID to get discounts, think again how businesses are cracking down and asking for more proof.
And if you use Cash App, you could get up to $2,500 as part of a legal settlement. How you can apply for your share. Remember, you can watch WRAL News live anytime on WRAL.com or the WRAL app on your streaming device.
A new study says that watching TikToks featuring extreme weight loss methods for just 8 minutes could cause, quote, psychological harm. The study involved 270 women from 18 to 28 years old who watched videos showing extreme weight loss behaviors. Researchers found less than 10 minutes of watching can damage a young woman's self-esteem and increase her risk of disordered eating. TikTok says it no longer promotes dangerous weight loss behaviors. Instagram users can now share more photos in one post. Instagram is expanding the number of photos or videos you can post from 10 to 20. Now users can add songs to their individual posts and even post collaboratively with multiple users.
Soon you could need more than a college ID to get student discounts. Several businesses are starting to crack down on people out of college who are still looking for deals. Verification companies are now being used to track hundreds of thousands of data resources to verify if a customer really is a student. Some student discounts and subscriptions may also require the user's date of birth, a school email, even transcripts or other school documents. Some Cash App customers could soon cash in on a data breach settlement. Now, some users could receive as much as $2,500. Lawsuits were filed against the company when a former employee of Cash App gained access to customer data without permission. Plaintiffs also say Cash App and parent company Block failed to properly handle complaints on the breaches. Customers should have received a mail or email notice. The deadline to file a claim is November 18th.
A pair of NASA astronauts may be spending the next 5 holidays in space. The new plan, NASA is considering to bring the veteran crew back to Earth.
So a bear walks into a classroom. No, you want to hear me out on this one. The teacher was able to dismiss this wild animal. We'll tell you how. The on-again, off-again presidential debate set for next month appears to be on again. Former President Donald Trump has agreed to debate Vice President Kamala Harris September 10th on ABC. Harris confirmed her participation in the September 10th showdown and said she'd be happy to discuss further debates after they meet on stage next month. Trump previously said he would not debate Harris if she did not agree to attend a proposed Fox News debate. Microsoft says Iranian operatives are creating fake news outlets to target liberal and conservative voters. Microsoft said one of the phony news sites described itself as a trusted source for conservative news in Savannah, Georgia. So far, neither site has gained too much traction on social media, but that could change as the election draws nearer. When he was president, Donald Trump ordered the killing of top Iranian general Qasem Soleimani, and Iran has vowed revenge for his death.
The world's largest 3D printed neighborhood is nearly complete. A community in Georgetown, Texas is building 100 3D printed homes. The company uses a 5-ton printer to roll them out wall by wall. The device uses a mixture of concrete powder, water, and sand to create the walls. Builders say they withstand up to an F3 tornado and are heat resistant.
Concrete floors are very cool, literally, and the quietness. We're right next to a bypass and you can't hear anything, so it's very quiet.
Prices range from around $450,000 to $600,000. And for now, the sizes run from 1,500 square feet to over 200,000 square feet.
A 10-day mission to space could turn into an 8-month mission. Veteran NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams piloted the first crewed test flight of Boeing's Starliner spacecraft back in June. The spacecraft experienced an issue that prevents it from returning to Earth right now. NASA and Boeing have been testing ways to bring the crew home safely, but may be forced to pivot.
The bottom line is that NASA and Boeing thought they had a handle on this about a week and a half ago, but then earlier in the week they basically announced that they do not agree on a root cause. And without understanding a root cause, they can't bring those people home on that vehicle.
So the alternative option is to send 2 astronauts instead of 4 into space on the next Dragon mission in September. Williams and Wilmore would remain on the ISS for another 6 months and then return home on the Dragon vehicle around February.
Hundreds gathered in the waters off Maui to remember the victims of the deadly wildfires on the island 1 year ago. A memorial paddle out was held yesterday to honor the 102 lives lost in the fire. Aside from hundreds out in the water, hundreds more washed from shore with music, laughing, crying, and some much needed time together as a community. At the end of the paddle out, there was a flower drop before everyone paddled back to shore.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, we have a sad update to a story we brought you at the top of the newscast. We've just learned the name of the Rockingham County woman that was killed when a tree fell on her mobile home. We've learned that 78-year-old Hilda Windsor Jones was killed. This happened in Brown Summit, that's northeast of Greensboro, around 11:30 last night. This is a picture of that tree. Officials say Jones was in the home's bathroom when the tree fell. She was the only person in the home at the time. The sheriff's office has extended their thoughts and prayers to her family. And it is a WRAL Weather Alert Day. Elizabeth Gardner tracking what we can expect today and this weekend.
Unfortunately, we're starting to see the rain really tapering off. We had some heavy rain earlier this morning during the morning commute. Most likely the strongest showers and maybe a few thunderstorms will pop up well east of our viewing area as we have a cold front that's pushing across the area right now. That front is going to stall and help to bring us a chance of some scattered thunderstorms over the weekend. But you can see just a little bit of light patchy rain around Raleigh, back down towards Smithfield and Benson, over around Rocky Mount up the I-95 corridor. But we're starting to see a little bit of sunshine in our western counties. Take a look at this. As a matter of fact, even here in Wake County, as we look west from North Hills, we can see some blue sky there. So we're definitely starting to see some improvement in our weather. Here's a look at the satellite view, and you can see here parts of Durham County on up to Granville County, parts of Chatham County, starting to see a little bit of sunshine and some thinning of the clouds too. So it may be a slow process, but we should end up with a little bit of sunshine as we get through the late afternoon and possibly even into early tomorrow morning as well. Watching the winds today, we started off with wind gusts this morning up to 25 miles per hour, and we did have some additional trees fall this morning, but the winds are starting to quiet down too. Winds gusting up to 16 up in South Hill, but our steady winds are at about 5 to 10 right now, and so we may not see a lot more tree damage, maybe not a lot more winds out there causing trees to fall. The model shows those wind speeds still a little high the next little bit, but it started to drop a little bit more than what we're seeing on the model. So that's definitely good news. And we'll continue to see some clearing. Now, here's something that I'm sure nobody wants to see, but, you know, we got to keep an eye on what's happening in the tropics. And there's a 60% chance that this one develops. And right now, it looks like it heads toward the islands of the Caribbean. But we'll take a look at some of our longer range computer models. This is a look at the European model. And you can see it here Wednesday of next week. I'm just showing the wind circulation. And it looks like it's likely to make a turn up toward Bermuda. So something that we'll be watching. As you can see, it's, you know, at least within the vicinity of the United States, possibly by next weekend. So watching that one really closely. It is a WRAL Weather Alert Day. We had some flooding yesterday, and in some places the waters are still receding. We just saw that story from Gilbert Bays just a little while ago with some folks still trying to recover there in Fayetteville, and the river looking pretty high there for the Cape Fear down in Wilmington. So just be careful. There may still be some creeks that are high. We don't have any of the major rivers that look like they are causing a lot of serious problems, but just kind of be aware of water that maybe in places you're not used to seeing it. Some of the greenways may be flooded, especially along the Neuse River. Tomorrow and Sunday, some scattered showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon and evening, but none of that's likely to be terribly widespread. We're looking at a 30% chance Saturday and a 40% chance on Sunday. Nice to see our temperatures in the low to mid 80s next week, but it doesn't look like we're going to see a major drop in our humidity or in our dew point, and it is awfully tropical and sticky out there.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Where the wild things are apparently are in this teacher's classroom right here with her students on the first day of school, ready to come back. We have to share this story, how she was able to get a bear out of the class.
No way.
We wrap things up with a look at a few of the headlines we are following for you today.
The remnants of Debbie are headed up the East Coast, but we still have some rain in our forecast. The total death toll now stands at 8, including 2 people in North Carolina. Swift water rescue teams have responded to more than 170 search, rescue, or evacuations. Inland river flooding is a primary threat at this point.
Cleanup efforts continue across the triangle after Debbie. The city of Raleigh tells WRAL they've responded to 47 downed trees because of the storm. As we are continuing to track the impacts of Debbie, including the risk of flooding, be sure to download the WRAL News app. Make sure you have notifications turned on so you'll get weather alerts for your location.
UNC Chapel Hill has a new permanent chancellor. Lee Roberts, who was serving as interim, was given the top job permanently this morning. UNC System President Peter Hahn said Carolina is a lot to handle, and the responsibility of the next chancellor isn't just to preserve its strengths, but to look ahead to what comes next. He says Roberts has shown calm, steady, focused leadership.
A beloved tradition lives on at one high school in Tulsa. The annual Kiss Your Mom Goodbye Day features a big welcome party for the freshman class. The school has done this for more than 20 years. The senior class organizes the event and encourages every freshman to kiss their mom at drop-off. Seniors swarm the cars dropping off freshmen holding signs saying, "Kiss me, baby, one more time," and pucker up. The freshmen are not allowed out of the car unless and until they kiss their mother.
You're never too old to give your mama a kiss.
Right.
A California teacher got an unexpected guest while preparing her classroom for the new school year. Take a look.
There is a bear inside the classroom.
And this is not a tagged one.
No, that's a new bear.
It's going to eat through my lunchbox.
Elaine Salmon went to make copies on the printer, and then this is what she found when she returned. This guy. She locked the door, ran to the office to call her husband. He quickly got there, and he was able to coax the bear back outside. The school staff promptly reviewed safety measures with the first day of class about a week away.
Just a curious little guy. I think he wants to get up on the ladder and look for a book.
Very furry intruder.
What's that teacher's name? Salmon? That's why he went to that classroom. Seriously.
Oh,
right?
Okay. Yeah, maybe he knew that's where he could, find some food.
They got him out. They got him out. I'd be worried about Mama there. A pet of the day. Here's a little survivor from the SPCA of Wake County. Mason is a 3-month-old puppy weighing 22 pounds, estimated to get around 75 to 90 pounds or so when fully grown. And he first entered the system there at the shelter. He was suffering from often deadly parvovirus. After 3 weeks of intensive treatment, though, Mason pulled through. He's doing great. And since Mason is still young, he can be introduced to cats, dogs, and other types of pets. For more information about Mason, you can visit spcawake.org.
Yeah, so 22 pounds now, but he could grow up to 90 pounds.
Yeah.
Might be a big one. As we've seen over the last day, Debbie's impact spans across our viewing area. Coming up this afternoon at 4, we're getting a bird's eye view of some of the damage from Sky 5.
And we know you've had quite a week right along with us, and we appreciate your time that you spend with us every day, and it's all in an effort to keep you safe and informed throughout the week, and we hope you appreciate that.
That's all the time we have today here on Fox 50. You know you can get breaking news updates anytime with our WRAL News app.
Have a great, safe, happy weekend here. Olympics headed your way on WRAL.
Stay safe with the latest WRAL Weather Alert Day info. Get up to the minute weather and traffic conditions when you get in your car. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM, in Durham 96.5 FM, and everywhere on 101.5 HD3.